How do you like the new digs? SoCal Prep Report looks a little different these days, doesn't it, guys? I'm your host, Tarek Fattal. We are kicking off high school football for the 2026 campaign on SoCal Prep Report here on LA 36. It's on YouTube, it's on Twitter. I think we've got it on Twitch. We can get it, you can get it anywhere you want it here. SoCal Prep Report is here to give you all the latest high school football and sports action. We'll recap, we'll look forward, and of course, we'll have a little fun. As always, I hope you like the new set. I'm standing, I'm more physical, I'm more active. I got YouTube chat right here. If anybody wants to chime in on the show, I can see it. We're gonna get to a ton of action here from week 0. We'll look ahead to week 1. That's what's on slate for today. And also some news stories. I've got video of a high school football coach kicking a football and it hitting one of his players in the groin. It was not good for that football coach. He's since been dismissed. We'll talk about that later in the show. And then, of course, actually, Larry, let's give it a tease, man. Let's take a look at the basketball cam real quick. So another fun interactive thing we'll do at the end of every show is I got a basketball hoop right here, and we're going to keep track of how good I am at the end of every show. I'll take a shot as we bump out. And, man, we'll keep track of what my shooting skills are like. So just a couple nice, fun things for you to keep an eye on and keep an eye out for as we embark on the new SoCal Prep Report look and studio. That being said, let's get into it. Look, I think we have to start with Bishop Gorman hosting St. John Bosco. Let's not forget, St. John Bosco was the #1 team in the country for high school football preseason. They had to go on the road. 107 degrees in Las Vegas. Here we go. It started bad for the Braves. They were down 14-0 quick. Caleb Lea'ava with a recovered fumble in the end zone. So again, 14-0. How about 21-0? A 3-score hole for the Braves in Vegas. Zyron Manor makes a couple defenders miss and gets into the end zone. I tell you what, I talked to St. John Bosco coach Jason Negro. He was ready for maybe a 14-point hole. I don't know about a 21-point hole. But Koa'Mau'olu shows a sign of life for St. John Bosco. They're now down 2 scores. But it didn't take till the middle of the 3rd quarter for him to light it up and start to feel himself. So St. John Bosco gets on the board for the first time in the 3rd quarter. Kick it forward a little bit down in the game. How about Malik Allen? Finds a little daylight on 3rd and 12. Down the left side, sideline, end zone. Wait a minute, that 21-point lead now gone. Gorman may be feeling a little bit of pressure. I'm going to step aside for Jeff Kurtz on this great call, which ties the game.
Good field position. Grabbing it is Tubbs at the 46. He's heading to the far side. He's got some room. Inside the 15, the 10, and that's a punt return for a touchdown.
So in the blink of an eye, it's 28-28 with 10 to go. How about DJ Tubbs? Gets the ball. I mean, no one in sight for probably a good 40, 50 yards until the last 5 yards. He pummels into the painted area. But how about a little poetic justice? Corey Hinton Jr. cutting across the field, catch, and to the house. Bishop Gorman scores 35-28. A defensive stop and a field goal. Final score for you, 38-28. Bishop Gorman gets the victory and is now in the #1 slot nationally in pretty much every poll and is in the driver's seat for what might be a mythical national championship. We got a scoreboard here for you with a couple stats, but Bishop Gorman goes on the road and St. John Bosco goes on the road and can't get it done. There's a scoreboard for you. Ace Amina, 227 yards, 4 touchdowns. Manor had a heck of a game, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mala'ulu took some time for him to settle in. Let's not forget, that's a hostile environment. Earlier on my show on Fattal Factor earlier in the week, we had Jason Negro and Brett Browner on the show, the 2 coaches of the league teams, and they knew it was going to be a dogfight, and that's exactly what it was. It didn't start out that way, but you knew St. John Bosco, kind of like basketball, was going to have a run of its own, and they did. So kudos to St. John Bosco for making it a game, but kudos even more to Bishop Gorman for keeping the Braves at bay. They end up winning 38-28. And I want to throw it to my colleague, Aram Talegian, covers the Nevada high school football scene for High School on SI, as my co-host on Fattal Factor. So he's seen Gorman up close. Let's see what he had to say about the game.
So as many early season heavyweight football games tend to do at all levels of the sport, this one developed multiple personality disorder. And what I mean by that is there were three different phases of this game that all had different personalities. The first one was Bishop Gorman jumping out to a 21-0 lead that Bosco kind of aided, not only with its slow start, but necessary adjustments weren't made. Bishop Gorman was burning them with the running back out of the backfield on passes. And then worst of all, just poor execution, like when St. John Bosco snapped the ball over the quarterback's head and it ended up at their own 1 yard line. And a play or two later, they're strip sacked in the end zone. And that's a Bishop Gorman touchdown. Ultimately, it led to a 21-0 Bishop Gorman halftime lead. That's one personality disorder. The second one comes in the third quarter where Bosco kind of takes over, hits its stride. Gorman can't stop him. And ultimately, Bosco ties the game at 28-28. That's the second personality disorder. And then finally, the third one is Bosco runs out of gas. Gorman kind of hits its stride again, comes back, scores the final 10 points of the game, and ultimately wins it 38-28. That's going to be what fans have to decide where their takeaway is from the game. What was the truth? Was it Bishop Gorman being good enough to go up 21-0? Was it Bishop Gorman being good enough to score the final 10 points of the game against class competition when all momentum was lost and ultimately put the game away? Was it those two things? Or was it the St. John Bosco that we saw in that third quarter that was capable of scoring in a flash? Fans of St. John Bosco are going to say, that's our real team. Fans of Bishop Gorman are going to say, that was really us in that first quarter. That was really us in the second half of the fourth quarter. Ultimately, it's up for everybody to decide, but there's no question this was a classic, and its implications are going to be felt for the rest of the season.
Love Aram's take there. I love it. What team do you want to believe in? The one that grew the 21-0 lead or the one that erased the 21-0 lead? A lot of football left. That was just week 0. Pretty awesome. So much more football to play, but Bishop Gorman in the driver's seat to probably win that mythical national title if they can run the table. Moving on, let's see what else happened in week 0. We've got scoreboards for you. Probably, I would say, the 8 to 10 biggest games that transpired here in Southern California, particularly in the CIF Southern section. So here are the notable scores for me. Corona Centennial getting served by 3 scores. We'll touch on the Huskies a little bit later. Santa Margarita, they got a new quarterback. Stick around, I'll tell you who that is. Sierra Canyon looks really, really good. Let's not forget about Sierra Canyon. Last year, Richie Wesley and the powers that be on that team, and they kind of fell short in the Division I playoffs to the eventual champion, Santa Margarita. Are they better this year? We're going to find out, but they thumped J. Sarah 42-21. San Clemente, maybe one of the surprise results of the week 0 is shutting out Tustin. Not just that they won, but that they shut them out. And then maybe the biggest surprise of the whole week outside the Southern section was Carson on the road to usual juggernaut in San Diego Lincoln, and they win. Chris Fields III, the reigning City Player of the Year, has a game and a half, and they win 35-31. Pretty awesome win for the Colts. A couple more scores coming up now in week 0. Got a recap before we move on to week 1. Here they are. Another shutout. How about Chaminade? Dave Machuca, the coach, goes 2-0. Had a week 00 game in Hawaii, wins it, comes home, hosts Oaks Christian under new coach Rudy Carlton, shuts him out 18-0. Nice victory there for the Eagles. Palos Verdes gets Sarah Gardena. Ryan Rakowski, the quarterback, was hurt last year in the playoffs. He's back as a senior and looks to be really good. Mater Dei, Crean Lutheran, and Westlake get victories. Quick note on Westlake. It took triple overtime, as you can see there, 32-26 to beat Newbury Park. So Newbury Park might be better than we all think, despite graduating Brady Smigel, who was one of the best quarterbacks in the country last year. Now he's at Michigan. Moving on, now that we've seen some scores, let's talk about the storylines of week 0. For me, it starts with Jasmine Gamble, the new head coach at Hawthorne High School. The first in known years, recent memory, whatever words you want to use, to be a woman head coach coaching varsity football, tackle football. It's awesome. Guess what? She beats Gardena. So she's 1-0, 26-20. You know, her hiring, let's just call it what it is. I wouldn't call it controversial. I don't think that's the right word. But I would say that it created headlines. It created opinions. That's what sports is all about. So people are questioning if she can do it. You know, can she be in the locker room with other teenage boys as a woman? I think it's a fair question, right? You know, she can clearly do it. She knows what she's doing. She gets a victory for Hawthorne. Kudos to Jasmine Gamble. How about Fletch Palmer? That's right. That's Carson Palmer's son. He gets the starting nod for Corona Centennial, and they get the victory, 27-0 after over Jones of Florida, who was in town. So that was a home game. Now, Fletch Palmer, he did throw for 253 yards and 2 touchdowns, had an interception, so be it, but he's only a junior. He gets his first career start at his dad's alma mater. His dad's the coach. I'm willing to bet. There's a lot of people that think, oh, it's daddy ball or whatever the case may be. I'm not feeling that. If you know anything about Carson Palmer, I can almost guarantee you he made it harder for Fletch Palmer to win that job. So kudos to Fletch Palmer for paring away they actually transferred in a quarterback, Matt Smith from Villa Park, who was, I wouldn't say supposed to, but thought to be the starter, and he wasn't. They gave it to Fletch Palmer. He gets a victory in week 0. Big test against Corona Centennial in week 1. We'll see how he does. Speaking of Corona Centennial, how about the new tandem? The new shiny toys for the Huskies. On the left there's Jaden Jefferson, the quarterback. He was all over the place. 296 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, 92 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns on the ground. His number 1 target, yeah, that's right, Quinton Hale. They both transferred from Cathedral High School in Los Angeles. Hale, 155 yards, I believe 8 catches, 2 touchdowns. These guys were unstoppable as they beat Servite, obviously a quality Trinity League team. Can they do it against Santa Margarita? We will see. That's 100% the game of the week, and we'll talk about that a little more later because there's a little more to talk about in the southern section, of course. And the last shout out, that's Norco's Julian Medina. We got some video to just talk over here. 408 yards, 5 touchdowns, 20 of 23 passing in a 55-14 win over Roosevelt. Julian Medina might be one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the Southland, certainly in the southern section. Norco is going to surprise people. They play in the Big West Upper League. That's with the big dogs like Marietta Valley and Corona Centennial. I could see them finishing something like 2nd or 3rd in this league. Do they have enough to beat Corona Centennial? We will find out. But Julian Medina is the guy throwing the pill for the Norco Cougars. So what does that mean? Let's take a look at the rankings. What do those results do for the rankings? I got the southern section top 25 here. As of course, High School on SI. That's where I write. If you want all the latest coverage, please visit si.com/high schools. Corona Centennial is the new number 1 for me. I mean, they impressed. Again, Jaden Jefferson, Quinton Hale, doing all that they can to make sure that the Huskies get a week 0 win for their coach, Matt Logan. St. John Bosco, I don't drop them too much, right? They go to Vegas, they erase a 21-point lead and just fall short. Can't punish them too much for that. So they're number 2. Santa Margarita, Sierra Canyon, Mater Dei finish out the top 5. To me, again, keep an eye on that San Clemente team at number 10. They're 2-0, super well coached by Jaime Ortiz. They get a win in Hawaii in week 00. They shut out Tustin in week 0, and now they have a bye to really kind of calibrate and then hit the ground running in week 2. Really good rankings there. I'm trying to think of any other teams I want to give a shout out to. Let's see. No, I think that's about it. Let's move on to the city section rankings. This is where Carson, to me, is ahead of the rest. I mean, that win over Lincoln. I don't know if there's another city section team that could come within 2 or 3 touchdowns of Lincoln of San Diego. Here comes Carson. They beat them by a couple touchdowns. Oh, they beat them by 4 points. I take that back, 35-31. Still, very good win. Maybe even more impressive that they won a close game over Lincoln San Diego. I always got to give a shout out to Hamilton. They've got probably one of the best quarterbacks in the country, who's a sophomore, Thaddeus Bro. Keep a lookout for him. I'm always curious if they can keep him there with all these transfers, but there's your city section look at the top 15, again, provided to you by High School on SI. What else we got here? Okay, games this week, upcoming games this week. Like I mentioned, Corona Centennial and Santa Margarita, to me, that is the game of the week. That one's like gonna be on TV, and you You throw a ball in any direction, you're going to hit some coverage from Santa Margarita Corona Centennial. That game will likely decide the new number one, or maybe Corona Centennial stays number one in the Southland. The Sierra Canyon game's interesting, guys. They actually play that game tonight. They're in Florida playing on the road. It is not easy to go across the country, let alone play another national juggernaut. So we'll see if Sierra Canyon, I tell you what, if Sierra Canyon comes back to California with a victory there, I'll be honest with you, I picked them to lose that game in my coverage this week. I'll be very impressed if they come back 2-0. Oaks Christian and Rancho Cucamonga, I throw that up there because Oaks Christian got shut out in week 0 with their new coach, Rudy Carlton. There's got to be a sign of life early in the season. I'm not calling it a must-win, but they got to show us something. Rancho Cucamonga actually erased a 14-point deficit and beat Murrieta Valley last week to go to 1-0. So interesting what we'll give there in that game. Chaminade, Valencia, 2 teams that are unbeaten. Curious to see who wins that one. And then Servite, Murrieta Valley, I put that one in there because those teams are both 0-1. And let me tell you, Servite, Trinity League team, Murrieta Valley, always good in the Big West League. I don't know, going 0-2, both coaches are going to be really upset about that. So again, something's got to give. Someone's O has got to go. Someone's going to win that game and go to 1-1. Someone's going to stay winless and drop to 0-2. Now, something new we're going to do here on SoCal Prep Report, plays of the week. I got 2 this week that I do want to shout out. Again, a lot of Corona Centennial love in this one, but for good reason. As you might call like, SportsCenter top 10 play-esque type stuff. Let's take a look at the first one, Larry. Roll it, baby. Quinton Hale, one-handed grab in 2-man coverage for Corona Centennial. I know we're going to have the video here in a second. He's running down the sideline. He's got 2 guys on him. He's like bending back like Odell Beckham. He catches the ball in traffic, and Quinton Hale was the big play from week 0. We don't have the video, unfortunately. What about Nolan Scott, CDM? Do we have that one, Larry? That's another play of the week. Here we go. We got the thumbs up from Larry. No worries. Let's play that one. This one's got some sound to it. There you go. You hear the oohs and ahs. So Nolan Scott gets an interception here. They win their game big, 48-3 there. But he just runs over an opposing player en route to, he didn't score a touchdown, so I guess, they did a good job tackling him. But to me, that is a great way to start your season, is trying to truck and run over people. Hold on, let's go back and play that one more time, Larry. Can we play that one more time? I'm wondering, does he actually take out the quarterback? Let's look at this again. 7. Oh, and then he runs up and tries to tackle him? 7. Oh, I'm just realizing he takes out the quarterback. Kudos to that quarterback for trying to take him out, but again, you can hear the crunch of the helmet there. So shout out to Nolan Scott from CDM for running over the opposing quarterback. Now I want to pitch it to something else that we do, again, new here on SoCal Prep Report, something you don't see every day. I'm going to tee this one up for you. This is from Royal High School out in Simi Valley. I gotta give myself a little pat on the back. I was the first one to report on this with video and get the footage and break it down. Everyone's picked it up. Everyone. ABC7, KTLA, you name it. It's all over the place right now. And it is Royal High School's now former coach, who's been relieved of his duties, Adam Brubaker, gets upset during a practice last week. I believe it was a Wednesday or a Thursday. And there's a football on the ground while he's upset with a player. And he goes and he kicks the football. Unfortunately, that football goes straight into the groin of another player. Here's the breakdown. Story out of Royal High School in Simi Valley, California. This is Coach Adam Brubaker, who kicks a football into his player's groin. Here's why he was frustrated after we spoke to him at High School on SI. In this play, their best player basically gets somewhat horse-collared, taken down, and is clearly hurt on the field. Brubaker gets upset with the player who he has told me has had at least a dozen conversations this offseason about, hey man, during teams, during XYZ, we don't hit players, we don't take them to the floor. So he's irate that he did this to their best player. He kicks the football, it hits the player in the groin. Not good. Doesn't matter what the excuse is. Clearly not good control of his frustration and his anger. An assistant coach comes and chirps at him, sends him, to the other side of the field. They separate. but the player now on the ground holding his groin. I speed up the video a little bit just because I don't want to cut anything out, but he's laying on the ground here for minutes. I speed it up a bit. Brubaker said he never intended for the ball to hit the player. He just wanted to kick the ball in anger, as coaches do, and it did hit the player in the groin. Not good. Brubaker did get put on leave. We'll see if he loses his job, but here he is at the end of practice, coming up to the player, apologizing to him. The player doesn't look too receptive here, but that's the end of that. And you could just tell there's contention between these two coaches. You can see it in the body language. Brubaker's fate will be decided on Friday morning before the team starts their season versus Monroe High School Friday night. Look, I spoke with Adam Brubaker the next day. He couldn't have been more upstanding in regard to just answering phone calls, answering all my questions. He did not feel good about what he did. He had remorse. He goes in on the Friday morning. They fire him. But I will say this. I'm not condoning what he did. He was angry, and he lashed out at his player. You're coaching young people. You got to have more love, more patience. I think he was frustrated that the player was tackling when he shouldn't have been, and arguably maybe even almost hurting their star player. I get that frustration. Actually, on Hard Knocks with the Seattle Seahawks this past week, their coach, Mike McDonald, he gets upset with a player for getting too close to the quarterback, Sam Darnold. And almost that same frustration. Different at the pro level, I get it, but I could understand where Brubaker was coming from. He kicks the football in anger. I don't think he meant to kick it at the player. It just so happens to come off, hit the player in the groin. That is not okay. I could understand why he was let go. That's the story there at Royal High School in Simi Valley. Shifting gears here now, guess what? We got the Quinton Hale play. Go ahead, Larry, roll it. I think it's worth seeing. One of the top plays here that you will not see every week in high school football. Jaden Jefferson from his own end zone, albeit, right? Look at that. One-handed among two defenders. He's fired up. Guys, Quinton Hale is kind of like the Des Bryant or Megatron of high school football right now. He's a USC commit. Those USC wide receivers that are only freshmen, guys like Trent Mosley, Caden Dixon Wyatt, and then you've got Mark Bowman from all those guys are freshmen that are going to start for USC this Saturday against San Jose State. So you're telling me all those guys are going to be sophomore, and then they're going to get Quinton Hale? That wide receiver corps is going to be stellar. Shout out to Quinton Hale on the one-handed catch. Okay, it's time to queue up a new segment for SoCal Prep Report. You can depend on it every week. Larry, we're doing some housekeeping. Dude looks like a lady. Come on, if you know, you know. Okay, first order of business, housekeeping. I'm going to share what this is every week. Just kind of as we get towards the end of the show, I'm always going to try and bring in some fun stuff. It could be sports related. This week, most of it is. It could not be sports related. It could be funny. It could be something going viral. You know, it could be a cat getting 14 million views on TikTok. We don't know. But I can guarantee you it'll be here every week, and we call it housekeeping because it's just a little couple things at the end just to make sure everything's tidied up before we get out of here. So the first one, how about Lil Wayne? Lil Wayne's son, Dwayne Carter, is a field goal kicker. Yeah, and he nails 2 field goals on ESPN against Buford in Georgia for Gainesville. So how about that? Lil Wayne's son. I know you know who Lil Wayne is. Maybe arguably one of the most famous rappers, you know, if you want to call him the best rapper alive, I don't know. But to nail 2 field goals on national television, kudos to Lil Wayne and his son Dwayne Carter for putting them through the uprights. I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, cool, calm, and collected here. I wonder if Lil Wayne, was he in, I wonder if they panned to him and he was celebrating. You'd think a lot of these athletes, that's another thing that's different. A lot of these athletes that have sons, they're playing quarterback, wide receiver, linebacker. I don't know if I've seen a big-time celebrity or pro athlete, their son be a kicker. So I think that's pretty cool too. Moving on, how about McKenna Cook? So McKenna Cook is known to be one of the best flag football players in the country. She was at Orange Lutheran, and she transferred to Sierra Canyon for her senior season. Well, this wasn't her debut because they played a few away games, but this was her first home game at Sierra Canyon. Guys, the score was ridiculous. It was like 57 or 68-0. But she threw 7 touchdowns against Alemany. Let me tell you something about McKenna Cook. Let it keep playing here, Larry. Perfect. McKenna Cook, I'm calling it. Remember, let's not forget, she was one of the first flag football athletes to be offered from a power conference school. Nebraska's Matt Rule, the head football coach, came and offered her. They don't even have, I don't think women's flag football is even an NCAA sanctioned sport, but I can guarantee you it's coming. And so McKenna Cook will be a freshman next year. Now, she's committed to play soccer for the University of Georgia, I'm pretty sure. But she's going to have a decision on her hands to either play soccer or play women's flag football, because there are programs, this is no joke, that are vying for McKenna Cook and telling her, if you come, we will make sure we do have an NCAA women's flag football program that could be starting as soon as next fall. And if not, there's club flag football all over the country. Nevertheless, McKenna Cook is the real deal. Look forward to her on, I don't know when they'll play college flag football. Will they be on Saturdays too? So look for her on Saturdays? I don't know. Maybe not, maybe so, but look out for McKenna Cook. Okay, couple more things to get to here. The transfers. Okay, no graphics here, but listen to this number, guys. 17,618 transfers across the state of California, 10 sections for the 2025-26 school year. There's no state that does, obviously California is a huge state, so that matters, but there's no state or state associations that has more transfers in the country than California. Listen to this, of those 17,618 from last year, 7,248 were from the southern section alone. So just so you know, that is record-breaking stuff as of last year. I believe the previous record was the 2022-23 high school sports year, and they got like 17,000 and some change. So this one breaks the record at 17,600 and some change. A lot of transfers. I got the numbers right here. 2023-24, 17,068 transfers. Now the 17,618. That's a new record. So the question is, will there be more this year or less? I'm kind of thinking with the way CIF is hunkering down on transfers, I don't think it'll be that big of a number again. Last ad before we get out of here, I want to promo the Fattal Factor, which has its new home, not just on YouTube on Monday nights, but here on LA 36. Go ahead, Larry. What is the most you've given a family?
See, it matters. If the kid's nice and he's a pro about it, I don't know, 50,000.
How often do you have to remind your kids, because that's what they are, to have fun?
I haven't said that once. Winning is fun.
When I created this platform, this is what I had in mind. Stories are going to break out, and giving an opportunity for those players, coaches, parents, players within the realm of high school sports to say their piece. Factor on LA 36 or on YouTube. YouTube Live Monday nights at 8 o'clock on Fattal Factor, but here on LA 36 at noon before SoCal Prep Report on Thursdays. Now look, guys, I do live TV, doing it right now, do a little work with CBS. I've been nervous before. I don't know if I'm quite as nervous as I am now. I feel like my debut shot, I have to make it. I have to make it. Go ahead, let's see it, Larry. So every week at the end of a show, I will take a jump shot here, and we will see if I can make it. And I'm trying to think to myself, who do I want to channel here? Do I want to channel like a Steph Curry? Do I want to be Kevin Durant? Do I kind of like, oh no, subdue it, go like a little Devin Booker? Do I want to throw it back to my guy Jason Kidd, my favorite player growing up? I don't know. Or maybe I'm just Tarek Fattal. I don't know. I'm going to take my shot here. It's going to be one shot. Now here's I've been debating this all year, and I got like another like 20 seconds here, or all show. Like, do I shoot 2 basketballs? No, I think you just got to go with the one. It's make it or miss it. Here we go, Larry. Cue me up. Can I make the shot? Oh, I'm nervous. There's studio lights. I want to make this so bad. And there's a lot of air in this ball. Shooter Shooter's touch! Shooter's touch! I make the shot on live TV. Let's go. That's going to do it for SoCal Prep Report. What a way to end it. Oh, man. Thank you for joining us in our new studio. We're here every week, Thursday at 12:30. We'll see you next time. I'm Tarek Fattal. Thanks for joining us.